Hello there, you amazing people. So in this video we will be learning that how can we insert rows and columns inside our Excel sheet. So without wasting any time, let's get started. So first of all, let us see that how can we insert rows in any place inside our sheet. So let us suppose that I have to insert a row above this sixth row. So how can I insert that row? So one of the way is that you can press Ctrl and plus symbol on your numpad if you are using a full keyboard. So by pressing Ctrl plus numpad, if you're using a full keyboard, you can get another row above the originally sixth row. By pressing the Ctrl and minus symbol on your num keypad, you can delete this row. Now let us suppose that you are working on a laptop where you don't have the numpad. So what you can do is that you can press Ctrl plus shift and the plus sign in order to add the row. So I'm going to press Ctrl, shift and the plus sign on my regular keypad. That is I'm not using the num keypad. In case you're using the laptop, then you have to press Ctrl, shift and plus in order to get a new row. And by pressing Ctrl minus, I can delete this row. Now let us suppose that I have to enter another row which indicates stocks. So I'm going to add another row here by pressing Ctrl, shift and plus, and then I'm going to name it as stocks. So let us suppose that for January I entered 400, 300 here and 200. So you can see that my Excel has automatically updated my totaling when I added some new values. Now in order to do this, fill this value, what I can do is that I can copy the above column in order to copy the relative formula, the relative cell reference formula, and then I'm going to paste it so that I can get the totaling for this thing. Now in order to calculate the percentage, you can see that if I double click on any of this cell, you can see that my formula has been updated. Earlier I was using the fixed or the absolute cell reference and it was for E9, but now it has been for E10. Let me copy it down here. So you can see that for this row, for transportation, my percentage formula is E5 divided by $E10, that is fixed cell E10. If I delete this row, if I delete this stocks column by pressing Ctrl minus, now you can see that absolute reference has changed and it is E9. That is, my cell is now E9. My absolute cell reference has not changed, but there is just a slight modification done by default in order to make sure that this cell is always referenced here in the denominator. So this is how you can add and subtract rows inside your sheet. Now let us learn to add columns in my sheet. So suppose I want to add a column in front of D. What I can do is that select my Dth column and I can press Ctrl, shift and plus, and I have inserted a new column here. In order to delete this, I can press Ctrl minus and I can delete it. Suppose I'm using my numpad. Now in my numpad I can press Ctrl and plus to add this, Ctrl minus to subtract this. I can also add new rows and columns by right clicking on it and then clicking insert, or by clicking here and then going to my home tab and clicking on the insert in the upper area of the of my ribbon, insert cells, and here I can insert my rows and columns whatever I want. So let us summarize this. In order to, suppose I have to add row and column, there are a few ways to do this. Suppose I have my full keyboard, then I can either in my numpad I can press Ctrl plus in order to add a new row, and if I am not having a full keyboard or if I don't want to use my numpad, then I can do Ctrl, shift and then plus. And the third way to do is that by going to my home tab and then clicking on insert, or right clicking on my cell and then clicking on the insert. In order to delete my row or column, what I can do is that I can press Ctrl minus either on my numpad if I'm using my full keyboard or your regular keypad. Just Ctrl and minus. In this way you will be able to delete that row or column. So that was all for today, guys. In this video we learned that how can we add and delete or add and subtract rows and column inside my sheet. So we will meet in our next video where we will be learning that how can we change width and height of my cell inside my Excel sheet. So we will meet in our next video. Until then, bye bye.